You see, if you don't know me and my story, my mom was taken away from me because she was a black woman. Somebody was misled and mistaught to hate my mom because of the color of her skin. And I truly think if I would have been able to look the guy in his face and genuinely give him a hug and say, I love you, I think there's no way he would have been able to do what he did to my mom and to 8 others. Today, what I'm sharing with you guys is how I overcame the unthinkable adversity. Before I even do that, I got to share my faith with you guys, because that's where everything stems from in my life.
My name is Corey Donnelly, and the speaker name is Chris Singleton. Today with Mr. Singleton, I like that I can relate to him and what he was talking about with the situation with his mom, and he really showed me how I can express my feelings without showing a lot of emotion or hurting anybody's feelings.
The first thing I want to share about my faith is I grew up in the church just like a lot of people, but I thought God was like Santa Claus. I didn't have a personal relationship with God. I didn't know who God was. I just thought God was like Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy or something like that. And I remember me going to church and thinking church was, just sitting there just like everybody else, doing whatever I was doing on my phone. And I remember my freshman season at Charleston Southern. I was a starter. I was starting my freshman year in college, but I was a freshman. I knew I had to keep playing well to keep that starting job. I remember we were going to Clemson, and I was a freshman. I was like, yo, I know I got to keep playing well to stay in this starting lineup. I know I got to keep playing well. So we're on the bus, and I'm listening to my music, and I'm vibing. You know how athletes do. We be listening to our music and stuff. I'm getting in my zone. I'm getting ready. And then I see one of my homeboys, one of my best friends at the time, and I saw him writing a scripture on his wrist. And me, myself, I was like, yo, maybe if I write a scripture on my wrist, God's going to bless me with a good game. That's what I was thinking. Like, maybe if I do well, God's going to be like Santa Claus and bless me with whatever I ask for. And so we went out to that game, and I started looking for a scripture, like put out my little Bible out on my phone, just start searching for something. And then one scripture kind of hit me in the face and made me stop. The scripture is Proverbs 24:10. It said, if you falter in the day of adversity, how small is your strength? And you baseball players know how tough the game of baseball is. There's a lot of adversity, and I was saying to myself, okay, this is perfect for me. This is perfect for baseball, Proverbs 24:10. So I wrote that on my wrist. I wrote it on my glove, on my bat, on my helmet. I wrote it everywhere. I said, God, if you're really up there like I think you are, maybe help me out with a good game today. A couple hits, a couple RBIs, I don't know, diving catch or something. And I said, if you do this, I'm going to give you all the glory. I promise. I promise. And so we went out to Clemson University, and I had literally the best game of my life, the best game I ever played. Even now to this day, it was the best game of my life. So I was telling everybody, like, yo, God is real, man. I'm telling you. Because I asked for everything, and I got it. And, of course, I'm superstitious, just like most baseball players. So I wrote that same scripture on my wrist every single game after that. Proverbs 24:10. If you falter in the day of adversity, how small is your strength? And I realize now why that scripture was given to me. I didn't know at the time. You see, I thought that scripture was for sports. But I realized later that scripture was given to me for June 17, 2015, months after my season. And I remember I was in this big room. And when I got into this big room, I was kind of sitting in a chair like this, and somebody walked up to me and said, hey, Chris, is that you? I said, yeah, it's me. They said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your mom got shot. And I remember sitting in this chair in this big room, and obviously when somebody tells you something like that, so many things are going through your mind. And I was sitting there, and I kept thinking about this scripture. If you falter in the day of adversity, how small is your strength? And I also thought about this quote that I've been reading. It said, a true man's strength isn't shown by how big and strong and tall he is on the outside. It said a true man's strength is shown when he's able to stand, when everybody else around him understands if he fell to his knees. And guys, my strength was tested in that day when I was in that chair, and then a lady walked up to me, and she introduced herself as a coroner. I didn't know what the coroner was. I didn't know who the coroner was. I never needed to know. She asked me a question. She said, hey, Chris, can you describe your mom? I'm thinking, describe my mom after my man just told me that she got shot? Like, you telling me it's that bad you can't even tell me what my mom looks like anymore? And I started hoping for the best again. I said, you know what? Maybe they're trying to make sure it's my mom that is alive. I said, she's 5'9". She's got short, black, curly hair. I said, she's always smiling. She wore a suit when she left the house this morning. I said, she's always singing even though she can't sing. And then I finished up and she put her hand on my other shoulder. She said, I'm sorry to tell you this, Chris, but your mom has been shot and killed tonight.
My name is Michael Bellamy. I was a part of Chris Singleton's program this morning. I found it to be very interesting, the topic that he talked about. He said we have to be thankful for the 90%, even if the 10% looks bad. I thought about him, being that he did lose his mother in the Emmanuel church shooting, and I said, if he can overcome that, then why should I say that just because I'm broke or I don't have this, I don't have that, why should I let that stop me from overcoming my obstacles? A program like today's, I think, is not only needed in Marion County schools, but needed everywhere.
And I remember my strength was tested when I had to tell my 12-year-old little brother, my 15-year-old little sister, that we would never see our mom ever again. Never see her smile, never hear her laugh, never feel the warmth of her hug, all because somebody took her life because of the color of her skin. Now this is that unthinkable adversity I'm talking about. This is stuff we see on TV. We see it happen in California, in Pittsburgh. We even see it happen to me in Charleston, but nobody thinks it'll ever happen to them. Nobody ever does. And in school, we get taught so many things, but we never get taught about how to overcome adversity without drugs, without alcohol, without all these things. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Some things I wish I would have known when I was faced with overcoming the unthinkable adversity. And the first thing I always share, and it's kind of simple, and people start dozing off or getting on their phones when I tell them that, I say this is going to be the hardest thing you ever had to do in your life. It won't be easy. And me personally, I remember being at a low time in my life, and I would watch these inspirational videos on YouTube. And I was thinking to myself, everything is so easy for us nowadays. We got Netflix. You guys got Netflix, right? Raise your hand if you got Netflix. Let me see who got Netflix in here. See, we got Netflix. We don't even got to go to the movies no more. We chilling at home, Netflix and chilling at home, all that stuff. We ain't even got to go to the movies no more. That's simple. But when you're faced with adversity or overcoming anything in your life, it's going to be the toughest thing you ever had to do in your life. Like, it wasn't easy for me when I had to tell my 12-year-old brother and my 15-year-old sister that our mom was gone. It wasn't easy hearing my little brother cry himself to sleep. It wasn't easy, like, not even 2 years later when my father is on his deathbed in the hospital. My sister comes up to me crying. She says, I just can't see our dad like this anymore. And they left it up to me at 19 years old to make a decision about my father's life. It wasn't easy saying that my dad's gone. He's a vegetable. He's been a vegetable for a while. And pulling the plug on my father at 19. I was saying, like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my church? Why did it have to happen to my mom? And then her mom said something that's going to stick with me forever. Her mom said, hey, I don't even know how we're going to get through it. I don't. I got faith that we will. Just know that it won't be easy.
The way how he talked about how his mom and dad passed, like some kids, they never had the time to go through that and know how it been. And to keep pushing after that happened, that's pretty good.
Like, I feel like he really empowered a lot of kids and everything. Because a lot of people don't have the voice to speak out what they believe in. And he's an example of what we can be or what we can do with our voices and what we need to do. A program like this, like, we should have this all the time because I feel like it really helps a lot of us.
It'll help more kids with the understanding, like, what's bigger and what's better in life and what not to do and what to do and how to face it.
The second thing I got to share with you guys, when you're faced with overcoming any adversity, you got to know that you can't control everything. And you guys know that already. So many things in our lives we have zero control over. We try to control them, but at the end of the day, so many things we don't have control over. 5 years old, I had no control over my father being an alcoholic. Spiking that Kool-Aid with vodka, putting my life in danger. I had no control over that day. I'm 5 years old. Just like I had no control over when I was 18, playing a baseball game. I get done with a baseball game. I had no control over Dylan Roof. A mistaught, misinformed 21-year-old with hate in his heart and murder on his mind. When he walked into my church with 8 magazines like he was equipped for war. I had no control over him stopping while they were praying pulling out a gun, firing 70+ bullets into my church. 50 of those bullets entered bodies. Some of those hit my mom right here, taking her life away forever.
Hi, my name is Bill Nelson. I'm the character coach at Mullins High School, and I had the opportunity of being a part of the program with Mr. Singleton this morning, and I can't tell you how impressed I was with his poise, the message that he brought, and as I watched my students, everybody was focused on what he had to say, and I think this message should go out to everybody, everywhere. I have 3 of my students here today, and I think Mr. Glover might want to say something about how it affected him.
I thought the story was inspirational, and it was a good story that he told us today.
The story I learned today was good because I learned a lot from it. Because I've been going through stuff lately, so I heard about his mama getting shot and stuff. So when he told me about his daddy, it inspired me. So I was like, yeah. And so he took that pain and he did something with it. He said he made something good out of it. I was like, yes. I was like, I'm glad he came and talked to us today because I could do the same thing with my life, do all the pain I got in me, and do something good with it.
I had no control over this day. And some of you guys right now are going through stuff you don't have control over. And you gotta just admit it. Some things in our life we don't have control over. But you always have a choice in how you respond and how you react. And there's this quote that I love. It says 10% of your life is action, the other 90 is reaction. Now what does that mean? That means like 10% of our life is just given to us. Like somebody chooses your name. You didn't get to choose your name. You didn't get to choose where you were born at. You didn't get to choose what skin color you have unless you're a lady and you put on a little Fenty or Olay, then you might choose it a little bit. That's your 10%. The 90 is how you respond to it. If you grew up rich, how do you respond to growing up rich? That was your 10%. If you grew up poor, how do you respond to growing up poor? That's your 10%.
My name is Julie Small. Chris Singleton came to talk with us at Mullins High School and to speak to some of our students. I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me that was a motivator for the students was the 10-90. Your life is given, 10% is given to you and 90% on how you react to it. I think that is a huge thing for our students because I think they don't know how to deal with things that they're given, and he really talked to them about how to react to what they have been given in life.
And the thing about it is, so many people get caught up in their 10%, they forget they have a 90. You see, my 10% was my alcoholic father. My 90 is never being like my dad, never drinking like that. That's my 90. My 10% was my mom being murdered because of the color of her skin. My 90 is speaking all across this country, letting everybody know that nobody chooses their skin color. So I would never hate you for yours, and you would never hate me for mine, because I didn't choose it. And we always have a choice in how we respond and how we react. Now, the reason why I've been on E60, Sports Illustrated, met Cam Newton, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, all these amazing people, is not because I'm an amazing person. I made an amazing choice. And my choice was forgiveness. And all this life is a bunch of choices that we make. All it is choices, man.
What he said was very engaging to our student body. We know that he went through a very traumatic experience, but to be able to talk about it, articulate the situation, and deliver the message was captivating. He left me spellbound personally, but to be able to turn into a positive and go forward with his life and take care of his family, I'm in awe with what his life has gone on to stand for, and just go on and just be positive to me personally and to these kids. And I just can't say enough. Great program, and I'm just delighted that he was able to come here and share with us today.
Don't be too cool for it either. Come here, man. I love you, brother. Let me get one, man. Love you, man. Come on, bro. Love you, man. But I'll tell you guys about the reasons why I do that. I'm actually no longer a professional baseball player now. I'm on the other side of baseball. I work in the front office in Charleston for a team called the Charleston River Dogs. And I get to travel and speak, and I've done probably 45 schools in the last 2.5 years. And every time I do that, I ask that favor. And there's two reasons why. I know it's weird, it's awkward. You're probably like, why are you making me hug somebody and say I love you? That's kind of weird, but I'll tell you the reason. First reason is because I don't care if you're like 8 years old or 18 years old or 88 years old. I think sometimes we're going through stuff and we need a hug.
I'm Regina Gilchrist. I'm the assistant principal at Mullins High School. And today we had the opportunity to have Chris Singleton speak to our student body and some of our community members. I can truly say that today was very empowering by having him come out and speak. Some of the things that he said that really resonated was he stated that love conquers hate, and he asked us as a group to do an exercise and stand up, find someone who doesn't look like us, and give them a hug and say, I love you. That statement and just that gesture challenged me as an educator to reach out to students that I may not talk to or speak to every day because the busyness of the day, but give me an opportunity to be a support system to those students. So he did challenge us, challenge my thinking and my actions and how I need to respond as an educator to be an extension and extra support to students and reach out to students who may not look like me and even some who do for purposes of things that they have going on in their lives that they're afraid to speak up to, but just continue to support them and let them know that they are loved and that their lives are important and that they do matter. So I have really enjoyed his platform, and I just, pray that he continues to be strengthened and that his platform and his message continues to grow.
I'm Michael Stone, principal up here at Mullins High School, and today we had Chris Singleton come speak with our students in regards to obstacles, challenges, and love to our students. It was very impactful. Our students really enjoyed having him here, and we really enjoyed having him here, and we'd love for him to come back at any time. Our students listened to a great story and that he had and he shared with us.
And I say this all the time, that I think a simple hug can stop somebody from doing something terrible to themselves. And the second reason why I do that at every single talk that I do is because you notice how I said, hug somebody that looks different than you. The reason why I do that is because I think somebody might have had a stereotype about you before that hug. I know we live in 2019 and people don't think that way as much anymore, but they do. They do. And I think a simple hug like that can change somebody's mind about people that look like you forever.